What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to the Locks DFS NBA breakdown video. I am your host, Christian Hardy, at ByHardy on Twitter, ByHardy on DraftKings, and I am here to break down the October 22nd NBA slate, the first opening slate for the NBA season. And I am very stoked. We got 4 teams on this slate that have a ton of changes, a ton of new faces. Wow, that kind of rhymed. It was unintentional. I'm going to be giving you some of my favorite cash plays, giving you a little bit of strategy in terms of roster construction on this 2-game slate. But it is just a 2-game slate, so I'm going to be going a little bit GVP heavy and very excited for it. So before we do that, just want to remind you guys, be sure to comment for a chance to win a free season pass from locksdfs.com. And make sure you're also subscribing to win that free season pass. We announced the winner on Thursday's NFL Showdown video. If you want a chance to win that pass, just comment. We like to get back to you guys, so, for helping us out with your comments. We really appreciate it. And also be sure to check us out at locksdfs.com. I'll be posting the lock sheet over there as well as my cash pool. This is what we did for preseason. So cash pool, GBP pool, and then basically player grades. And we'll also be doing analysis in the Slack in terms of roster construction and news and that sort of thing. Sorry, I don't know why that was happening on my face. Okay, so this is locksdfs.com. Check us out there. Our content will be posted there. And with that said, let's get into the slate. Not a ton of injuries. Rajon Rondo, questionable. Alex Caruso, probable. It says questionable, but he was upgraded. Zion is out. Kuzma is out. For Toronto, we have 2 injuries for them that are notable. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson and Patrick McCaw are both out. So there is a little bit more. There's a little bit of interest in Toronto because of that McCaw injury. But let's start at the top. Let's start with the most expensive players and go down. I'll be giving you some of my favorite studs and then going down to my favorite values. Anthony Davis is probably going to be the chalkiest player on the slate, but he is also still my favorite play on the slate. The Lakers have announced that they will not be giving a minute restriction to Anthony Davis, so I expect him to be in the high 36 range, somewhere in there for minutes. LeBron James is going to be more of a GVP play just because, Davis is going to be very owned, and obviously LeBron's going to be on ball, but I do think that LeBron is going to be more of a ball handling role this year. And if you're getting Davis for only 300 more, in terms of his usage, in terms of his rebounding rate, he's going to be getting more blocks, probably be getting the same amount of steals, close to the same amount of assists. Even Davis is a good facilitator as well. I just think that he's clearly a better cash play right now, and LeBron can be used in GPPs. In terms of the rest of the Lakers, it's not a bad matchup with the Clippers, but they do add Kawhi, which is probably going to slow them down. It's going to be big increases to their defense. So there's not a lot of other Lakers I like. You can dig for like Avery Bradley's going to be starting, like Quinn Cook maybe if Rondo is out, but like that's pretty thin. So there's just not a lot else in terms of price. It might just be Davis and move on. But in terms of Clippers, to run it back the other way, because I'm actually not going to talk about the Clippers in the rest of the video, but I do really like just running it back straight up with Kawhi. He's the safest in terms of minutes. It's kind of the same thing with the Clippers here. After, I think Harrell and Lou probably going to be around, like 26 minutes or so, kind of like they were last year. I don't think that Kawhi being here is going to change them all that much. So that, now we've got a bunch of guys down here like JaMychal, Harkless might draw the start. JaMychal could draw the start at the 4. Like, we don't really know what's going on here. I think Patrick Beverley is decently priced at $5K, but I'd look for another Clipper piece to run it back with just because the Lakers are going to be up in pace. They're going to be, their defense isn't going to be great. So I definitely much prefer, though, other than just Kawhi. It's definitely possible they end up with just Kawhi and Anthony Davis in cash and then completely stack this other game because I think the value is much better. The total is only 4 points higher. It's risen. But I actually think this New Orleans-Toronto game is going to be more conducive to points than maybe people think. Toronto ran the second highest pace in preseason. And obviously New Orleans is plays at a pace that is, extremely friendly for fantasy production. So this game is the one that I probably am going to be targeting more in all formats just because I feel a lot more safer about a lot of the situations. But mostly, and let me just go ahead and click in Davis because I wanted to go ahead and keep them on the screen so you guys know who I want. So, okay, moving to New Orleans, Toronto, which is actually where the rest of my actual plays are going to come from. that I give analysis on. Pascal Siakam is at 7.6K. I think that's a really, really good price for him. He's going to get obviously a massive pace up. Obviously, Toronto is also playing a very high pace without Kawhi. They're missing Zion Williamson inside, so they're going to be pretty weak at the 4. I don't know exactly what their plan is there, and we'll get to that more in a second. Siakam averaged 1.1 fantasy or DraftKings points per game without Kawhi, Jonas, and Danny Green on the floor last year. He should easily get up to 35 with his increased usage. I don't see a problem with that, especially in the pace up spot. I think the minutes for the Raptors are also going to be pretty condensed, not only because we see 2 of their possible rotation players out, but also because Nick Nurse has been pretty down on the new contributors that have been added to the team. Stanley Johnson, Cameron Payne. He has not been happy with what they've done. Obviously, Hollis Jefferson also falls in that group, but he's out for this game. So Siakam just got that new contract. He should be on ball a decent amount. I just think that he is going to be a guy who goes up and up and up. And I think this is a price that's friendly, especially in this matchup. You know, I think later in the year when we're looking at a matchup like this, we're going to see Siakam in the mid-8s. I don't think that'll be surprising at all. So I think we're going to get a pretty good price on him here. It's not like smash, but it's very good. I also like lots of other Raptors because, like I said, this game is more targetable for me, and the other one's going to be Van Vliet that I'm going to talk about. I think this will be the second chalkiest player on the slate behind Davis. To me, this price sticks out like a sore thumb. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. On FanDuel, he's 5.6K as well, which I think is just like an awesome price. Part of it comes down to like Kyle Lowry not looking 100% in the preseason. Obviously, he sat out for much of it and then came back. He's got that wrist thing. I don't know how comfortable he's going to feel shooting the ball, but a lot of it also just comes down to the increased usage that Van Vliet's going to see, the increased minutes that Van Vliet's going to see. I think that he has a 30-minute a game role on this team right now. And, at 4.8K, 30 minutes is pretty smash. Yeah, like the Lowry usage opens things up. The possible dip in Lowry usage opened things up. The possible or the dip in usage from Kawhi, that opening more shots up for the rest of the team, especially with a guy like Van Vliet who's going to be on the floor, who does shoot the ball. I think he makes so much sense here at 4.8K. So he's going to be in one of my guard spots. And then we have 2 3K values that I'm going to talk about to close off this video real quick. And they're both in this game. Let me just go to utility real quick. So Patrick McCaw's out. I'm not sure exactly what this means for Toronto minutes, but I could see one guy that is really interesting to me, and it's not actually mentioned in this RotoWire clip, which makes me very excited because I do think that does clear a good amount of minutes for Anunoby and for Norman Powell. One of those guys is going to start. But I also think it's going to open up minutes for Terrence Davis off the bench. And Terrence Davis is a guy who was getting a ton of buzz in the preseason. If we go look at Raptors preseason stuff, let's do it. Let's just go to ESPN, actually. And pull up. This wasn't even planned in this video, but I just want to pull up. Let's go to their dress rehearsal game and see what Terrence Davis did. And keep in mind, this was with McCaw was actually out in this game. Terrence Davis plays 15 minutes off the bench. At 3K, if we're getting 15 to 20 minutes off the bench, I think it's a pretty solid play. He's a guy who will be on ball a decent amount, will also be a solid facilitator. I think it's a little bit thin, but I think that if we hear, I'm definitely be looking for any sort of buzz around Terrence Davis before the game to hear if he will be included in the rotation. You know, like I said, Nurse hasn't been impressed with any of the rotation guys, but Davis is a guy who he has talked up, and the rest of the team has talked up in the preseason. He's not someone that they're upset with. I could see him being immediately impactful in the rotation. The other guy is going to be, Nicola Melli, but this is another situation where we're kind of waiting and seeing on the minutes because this situation with the New Orleans Bigs is a little bit volatile now that Zion has been ruled out. They have 2 guys who can play the 5 in Derek Favors and Jahlil Okafor. But at the 4, it's kind of uncertain what they're going to do. In their final preseason game, they played Brandon Ingram at the 4 as a stretch 4, but Favors was out in that game, so they started Okafor at the 5, Ingram at the 4. I'm not sure what they're going to do here in the future, and this is another situation where when lineups come out, when we hear stuff from beats, when we hear stuff from coaches pregame, it might adjust things. But right now, I think Melli could definitely be in line for like an 18-minute type role off the bench. Like I said, it just depends on what they want to do with the 4, because Melly is definitely a guy who can play the 4, a stretch 4. As you can see, he's a guy who's going to shoot 6 3-point attempts in that game. That was something that they definitely took him for, that they really like him for, is his ability to shoot 3-pointers. So, I think he's a scoring guy who can grab you rebounds. And at 3K, he could end up getting 24 minutes on a really good, if you run really good and he stays on the floor. 24 minutes I don't think is too crazy there, especially if they run him over, like if they take Jackson Hayes pretty much out of the rotation and run Melly over him. That would be interesting as well. That's another guy, Jackson Hayes, they can put at the 4. So there's just a lot of ways they can go here, and the minutes are very volatile. That's why I'd really suggest getting in Slack. We'll be talking about all the talk before these games. They're both ESPN games. It's the first games of the season. There's going to be plenty of press around these games, so we should hear some things on how Toronto's going to replace Patrick McCaw, and if Terrence Davis is going to get minutes. Who's going to play the 4? What is the starting lineup going to be for New Orleans? All that stuff changes kind of my analysis coming into the slate. So be sure to get in Slack. I'll be talking about all that stuff in there. Be sure to join us, locksdfs.com, to get in the Slack. And that's going to be it. And again, make sure you comment, subscribe. It really helps us out, but it also gives you a chance to win that free season pass from Locks DFS. You can choose NBA, NFL, college football, whatever you want to do. And thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys back here next time. Good luck. Let's get a first win on the NBA slate, and peace.